You are gonna love this one if you have different age kids. This is another strategy, how to homeschool different ages. And I want you to think about the different ages that you have in your household. By the end of this video, you're gonna have ideas for how to move through your day in a way that keeps different age groups busy and active doing the things that you want them to do. So I want you to remember kindergarten. If you went to public school like I did when I was little, kindergarten was a magical place. It was magic. Now I'm old enough to remember kindergarten the way it was really awesome back in the ancient days. Kindergarten had stations, and this is something that I want you to consider implementing into your homeschool, especially if you have younger kids, 8 years old and down. I want you to think about having stations inside your house during a pocket of time for homeschool. At one point, I had a poster on my refrigerator, and each of the kids had a magnet, an identifying magnet, Thomas, Micah, Isaac, Sam, Stephen. Thomas, Micah, Isaac, Sam, Stephen. So all the boys had their own name magnet. And on that poster, I had different things on there. There were titles, and it would say water, Legos, books, movie, busy bags. And so when I was working with one of the kids independently, the other kids, probably the oldest down, I always did rank has its privileges. The oldest kid got to start wherever they were going to start first. They got to pick their station, and then we would set a timer, and each station would be, depending on the ages of the kids, I did 10-minute stations and 20-minute stations depending on how old the kids were at the time. So think about that for a second. We had water, Legos, books, busy bags, and an art. So I had 5 stations. How long is that? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes? Or 20, 40, 60 an hour and a half-ish of kids doing something for 10 or 20 minutes, and then they would clean up. Then they would do something, and they would clean up, etc. And so I had stations in my kitchen, dining room, or the house, depending on what the activities were. Water meant that my child, this was toddlers and up that were safe. So, I always trained every station. This is how you do the station. When the timer goes off, this is how you clean up your station. It was part of the training, and we would train for a couple days, and then I would release them to stations. Water was they would stand at the kitchen sink on a stool, a safe stool with an apron on, and I would put things in the sink for them to play with or to clean. Little kids love to clean. So you give them clean sponges and bottle brushes and stuff, and they can clean their toys. They can clean plastic cups. They can play with water this way, and toy boats and mermaids and submarines and all the things. You give them stuff to play with in the water. When they're done, they all get laid out on a mat to dry. So a water station. My kids' favorite thing to do was to scour the sink. I'm not joking. They would beg me, "Mom, can I clean the sink?" "I guess if you want to." Okay, so water. I have 5 sons. Legos are the most amazing investment that we have ever done in childhood. There's so much learning. We'll do a whole nother video on Legos in learning, but we did Lego stations. In our house, we had a couple rules. Legos were only built on a sheet so that you could clean them up in a pinch if you had to, and so that we didn't lose pieces, because nobody wants to step on a Lego in the middle of the night. You can train your kids to do Legos only on a sheet. So we had a Lego station. So we'd have a sheet or a beach blanket with a tub of Legos. and they would build Legos for their station. We had another station of a basket of books. We went to the library every week or two, and we would check out the maximum number of picture books allowed. It was like 30 books. We would go pick books at the library, and then I had a basket of books with a couple stuffed animals, and they would sit and they would read. Looking at picture books is reading. Listening to audiobooks is reading. They don't have to be able to read the words, they can read the pictures. It's just as important as reading the words on the page. So we had a snuggly section where they could read books. I also had two messy-ish stations. One was busy bags, and I would put different activities that the kids could do inside of a Ziploc bag. And they weren't complicated. They might be blank pieces of cardstock paper and sheets of stickers, and the kids could do whatever they wanted. Or they might be magnets and a cupcake tin, and they could build words on the cupcake tin. Or they might be, I'm just scrolling through some of my old ideas. They might be dice things, like games that they do with dice, or a lacing activity. Or I had not lots, but I had a good handful of those really good discovery toy things. So they would pattern, they'd see a pattern and they'd have to do a punch board. So we had busy bags. And then the last one was we had some kind of an art activity that the kids could do. And so at the beginning of the day, when we were getting ready to run our day, as a group, we would walk through and talk through all of the stations. I would explain the art activity. I would explain the busy bag activity or the puzzle. That was another great activity. We would talk about the books. We would talk about the Legos. We would talk about the water. And the kids would know what was expected, and that when the timer went off, that would be cleanup time. Now, if the stations are really awesome, which they should be, have your timer be a 2-minute warning. And so the timer goes off, ding, and you say, 2-minute warning. When the timer goes off, it'll be time to clean up. Did everybody hear me? Yes, Mom. Giving your kids a 2-minute warning is secret sauce because it allows them to end their activity with dignity without suddenly being pulled out of that magical creative space in their head. So I highly recommend that. So we would walk through and we would explain the stations. Then the first kid would pick their station, and then they would be in order. In our house of age order. That's because I'm forgetful and I could never remember who did what. It doesn't matter. They're all going to get to do each station. So you always say something like that. You're all going to get a chance at every station, so it's okay. And then we would do maybe 3 stations, take a break. Everybody would have a snack. Then we'd go back and everybody would finish their station time. And imagine this for a second. You're working with a child at the table. You're working on math. The other kids are doing their station. The timer dings. Everybody cleans up. The stations change. You get another child at the table, and now you're doing their math with them, or practicing some skill with them, or doing something side by side with them. If you train this in, and you take the time to explain it and to model it and to work it through, what ends up happening is you end up having this flow of activity that goes through your house. You're working independently with each of your kids, and the kids are getting different experiences as they're moving through the day. And I highly recommend you take your homeschool environment, you take your ages into account, and you build in stations just like in kindergarten. Now, this is something you can do with older kids too. It can be 20 minutes of reading independently, or reading to a sibling or a stuffed animal or a dog. It can be a science activity where they have something that they're going to be building. It could be a subscription kit where they get to build something that they just received in the mail. It could be practicing crocheting or embroidery or something that they're doing. It could be one of the stations. If your kids are older, you could do an activity station where they practice their free throws for 20 minutes, or jump rope. You could totally do this outside where you've got free throws happening, jump rope happening, bicycle rides happening. It's super important, and that structure and that rhythm provides stability within your home, but it also will magically give you the time that you need to work with the kids independently. So think like a kindergarten teacher. This is a secret sauce in helping you homeschool different age kids, and your kids are going to love it. It's going to be part of their favorite memories in their homeschool experience. So give stations a try, and let me know if you come up with creative ideas down in the comments so that future people that watch these videos will be able to glean from your brilliance as well. Have a great day. See you soon. Bye.